Hey class, hope everybody's doing well and enjoying the class. I am so far, and I'm really enjoying what we're learning and the content that we're learning. And to jump into our first video discussion question, summarizing three of the five main portraits of Jesus that our text gives us. I'm going to be summarizing the social revolutionary, clinic-like philosopher, or cynic-like philosopher, sorry, and then the Messiah. I'm jumping off, or starting off with a social revolutionary. Jesus was kind of this first figure that we read about that we see standing up for social justice and whatever that may be, whatever it was. We see Jesus standing up for the oppressed. We see Jesus standing up for the people who have been treated unfairly from the government. And we see that a lot throughout his journey. And I think if we were to say that Jesus wasn't a political person, we'd be doing Jesus a disservice when we read in the Gospels and just the stories. And I think one of the biggest ones that we can look at is him getting crucified. That happened because him standing up against the Roman government, him standing up in what he believes in, which ended up causing him to be crucified, and he got killed for that. And so I think this is a very big aspect of who Jesus is. He was a social revolutionary person. He was a social leader, a social justice advocate. And I think, like, in the current climate of the world we're living in right now, I think that if Jesus was here, he would be in the midst of everything going on. He would be standing up for the oppressed, and he'd be fighting for them. Moving on, going to a cynic-like philosopher. This is interesting to read about, and it was cool to learn about and give more context to kind of Jesus's mission as we read through the Gospels. But cynics were countercultural philosophers and preachers who initially rejected the social conventions of their day. So basically, and I say this a lot about Jesus, Jesus takes kind of everything that we know and he kind of flips it upside down, and he flips it on its head because he forces us to look at things in a new light, kind of in a new perspective. And I love that when Jesus is, if someone asks Jesus a question, if one of the disciples asks Jesus a question, Jesus usually responds with another question to the disciple, getting that disciple to think and getting the people around him to think. And then, of course, the message that he's sending is one that is countercultural, it goes kind of against what society is telling you. And it's, Jesus is saying, hey, do this instead of what the secular world is telling you. And that's true today still. I think that a lot of the things that we are called to do by Jesus that we read in the Gospels are completely countercultural to what society is telling us to do. I think a prime example is society tells us to be successful and make money and kind of just think about yourself, be very selfish. Whereas Jesus says, no, humble yourself. You have enough with me. Work, or do what I call you to do, and forget about yourself. Pick up your cross daily. And I think that this fits Jesus perfectly, and this is one of the bigger personality traits of Jesus that we need to look at, and that we also, as Jesus followers, need to portray as followers of him. And then moving on, we are going to be looking at the Messiah. I need to scroll through my textbook really quick to find it, because at the very end, in the second part of our discussion question, it says, in your own words, which is most biblical? And I would say the Messiah, Jesus being the Messiah, is the most biblical, because as early on in the Old Testament, as early on in Genesis, we see kind of signs saying that someone is going to come, going to come and fulfill this new law, and that will be the Messiah, and that is Jesus, of course. And Jesus was the Messiah. He came down. He lived a human life as God, and he performed these amazing miracles and kind of paved the way for how our lives today should look and how everybody's lives should look. And we're called to show everybody that way of life. And the reason I say that this is most biblical, like I said, throughout the Old Testament, we see signs and we hear stories and we are promised a Messiah coming down and fulfilling this new law. And I think that we find biblical aspects in each one of these portraits of Jesus. But the Messiah truly is kind of the fulfillment, and it is the fulfillment of this story of the Bible. And it's the one that it's the one that I think everybody can recognize. I think we all know when we hear Jesus that and we may not understand this, not everybody may understand this, but when we hear Jesus, we associate Jesus with a higher being, and of course that higher being God. But he is the one to come down to fulfill this new law. And I googled the dictionary definition of Messiah, and it's promised deliverer of the Jewish nation prophesied by the Hebrew Bible. So this word is directly coming from the Bible. It's something that that was developed. It was a word that was developed by for the Bible. So that's why I would think it would be the most biblical. I think another one that we can really look at as being biblical is the social revolutionary portrait of Jesus. And the reason for it being is it's this. I think a lot of the aspects of being a social revolutionary, a lot of those characteristics include characteristics that Jesus had. Loving the other, standing up for injustice, just being humble, being selfless, looking out for other people, standing up for what you believe in. I think those are a lot of characteristics that Jesus showed. So I think that would be another really, that would probably be my second pick if I had to pick a second one for which one is most biblical. But like I said, you can really find aspects of all of these that are biblical, because they all are having to do with Jesus, and Jesus is, of course, the ideal example of how we live our life, and he lived a very biblical life, so to speak. And yeah, those are some of my thoughts. I'm excited to watch everybody else's videos and see what you guys have to say. And like I said, I hope everyone's enjoying the class. Later.